Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Universally Epic Podcast, your go-to Universal Orlando trip planning podcast. I'm Jim Klein, along with Taylor Franklin. We are your hosts and travel agents for all things Universal. On today's show, I tried butterbeer goldfish live on the show. Universal must be listening to the podcast because they released some big news today, or should I say some supercharged news. And we continue our series on extinct attractions with Back to the Future. How do you like that one, Taylor? I try to make you laugh every time.
Your intros are so funny. I think it's you've gotten to a point where you know that you can make me giggle with the dumbest puns.
Literally, that's all I do. That's all I do. So here's our first thing. I threw this in. I didn't want to tell you before. So my wife comes home today. Goldfish, butterbeer goldfish.
Oh my god.
So, I have them here. I opened them. They smell crazy. Like they smell super sweet.
Oh, I bet.
So I'm going to try them. I'm going to try them now. I'll let you know how they are.
All right.
But they're baked grams. So like I guess it's like a graham cracker base. Butterbeer, butterscotch flavored. Yeah, so they tell you it's butterscotch flavored, I guess. If people don't know, I guess. You know? I don't like butterbeer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. All right, let's see. I'm trying. I won't eat on the microphone, but maybe I could, like, what is that, ASMR? Like,
new title for the podcast: Jim tries ASMR.
Yeah. They're good. They're very good.
Are they? So
yeah,
Noah and I were trying to figure out because I'd only seen like the front of the bag. I hadn't seen them like physically in person, and we were speculating the whole time on what the base of these were going to be, and then Noah reminded me that they have graham cracker goldfish.
Yep.
That they use as a base of a lot of things. They had like a cake one a while back or something, but it's always like this graham cracker base. Or they had the s'mores.
Yeah, the s'mores are great. Yeah, the s'mores are great. Just had those on vacation. They were phenomenal. Yeah, these are good.
Are they good?
Yeah, they're very good. They're sweet, obviously. I don't know if I'm eating a ton of them, but reveal your spell binding treat. It says it on the back. It's probably back.
Oh.
You can see these at the parks. Can you not see these? Like just in the, I don't
know. And I'd buy them.
Everybody would buy these.
I love a theme.
They go for like $10 too in the parks. I don't know how much my wife paid for them, but I'm sure they're not that crazy. Limited edition. Yeah, like I said, we talked about this like, on a previous episode, and like they're coming out with all things butterbeer. But like, yeah, that was kind of cool that she brought this home today. And I'm like, oh, I'm recording tonight, so like, I'm definitely gonna try this.
$264.
$260. Yeah. Oh, what a steal! What a steal! That's great. Yeah. So yeah, nice. So that was just something little to throw in there. But let's get to Supercharged news. So Universal announced today that over in Universal Studios Hollywood, they're getting rid of the Supercharged portion of the tram tour. And if you haven't listened to our tram tour episode, I can't remember. I'll put it in the show notes, but we did a whole hour-long show on the tram tour. And obviously this is like towards the end of the tram tour, right? And
it is the end. It's the finale.
It's the finale. Come on.
The grand finale.
Finale, but supercharged there. So if you have been listening to the podcast, you know our disdain for Supercharged. And number one, and if you didn't know, my last trip, I've never been on the ride before, and I chose Supercharged over Minions Mayhem and upset my son quite a bit. It was very disappointing. I was disappointed in myself. So
I'm retroactively disappointed.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad choice. we all make bad decisions in life, and that was one.
Yeah, we all get on Supercharged at least once in our life.
Yeah, it's. I know we keep saying how bad Supercharged is, but it's really bad. It is not a good ride. It is not a good portion of the tram tour. There's nothing good about it.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-show is terrible over in Orlando. The ride is terrible in Orlando. Like everything about it is just doesn't make any sense for that franchise. Now, yeah, go ahead.
So I talked to a coworker because I saw this tweet pop up on Twitter, and I have never run so fast to text someone in my life. I copied the link and I was like, "It's finally happening," and I sent it to Jim. But I was standing next to my coworker when I was talking about it. Big Universal guy, loves Universal Studios, talk about it all the time. Um, and he also is a giant Fast and Furious fan. He loves Fast and Furious. Hates Supercharged. He was like, that was probably some of the like most disappointing things, like going to Universal for the first time, because he went for the first time only a couple of years ago, and now he loves it. But he was like, I was so excited. I found out there was a Fast and Furious ride, and I was like, yes, I love Fast and Furious. And he was like, and the most interesting thing was that Dom Toretto's car is there.
Yeah, it's
And it's
you
not
know
even in the ride. It's not even in the
it's
ride.
no, it's not in the ride, and it's there's such an edge to that franchise, and this ride
Mm-hmm.
lacks all thrill
Yeah.
whatsoever. It's not thrilling at all. And I
You don't
know
like
this is
Mini Vin Diesel?
Hollywood, and we're hoping that it closes in Orlando next.
Hopefully.
Now this is closing like soon, March 10th. So like that's like what, a week and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
It's quick. Like they're just like, okay, we're done, and that brings up the question of like, what are they going to put in over there on the tram tour?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know what they'll put on the tram tour, but I do know that Hollywood is getting the Fast and Furious roller coaster, which I know you and I have talked about before. That's the only thing that makes sense for that franchise is to make
Yep.
it a roller coaster.
Yeah, agreed. The roller coaster is a great idea for that franchise.
Hmm.
Like it makes sense. It's thrilling. It's fast, right? Like it just doesn't make
I don't
any
know how
sense
you could be like, yes, Fast and Furious supercharged, and then put it on a slow moving dark ride
on a bus or on a
on a bus
bus, a
or on
party
a
bus.
party
No,
bus,
a party bus.
a party
The
bus.
neon lights going. What are we doing? What like who thought that that was a good idea? And then to spend millions and millions of dollars like putting that thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And they took away what Beetlejuice. I'd rather watch Beetlejuice sing on stage than go on Supercharged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
I said it earlier today and I laughed, so I'm going to repeat it to you. The Fast and Furious is the absolute best thing for an HHN line queue. I love that line queue because most of it's inside. And also, Chucky was in that house, and I am legally obligated to love anything that has Chucky in it.
Oh, you love Chucky, huh?
I love
Yeah,
Chucky.
I did. You know what? You'd be surprised. When I was younger. I did watch the Child's Play movies, and obviously didn't sleep afterwards. But
Oh,
like it
God.
was scary as hell. Like it is, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It is a dumb. But like I get scared easily. We already know this. I know Holly's on a mission now
Oh,
to
yeah.
like get more followers on TikTok, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have opened my mouth, but it was funny because it just worked perfectly. She had brought up the Halloween Horror Nights over in Vegas opening up soon, and
Oh, yeah.
yep.
We should
So
talk about that.
yeah, let's talk about that now. Why
Yeah,
not?
let's have a little mini segue into
Yeah,
that real fast.
yeah.
So that opens the day after my birthday, which means that it is Universal's gift to me for my birthday.
There you go.
Pretty excited, but I think Horrors Unleashed.
Yeah, I think that's what
I
it's
guess
called.
what it's called. Horrors Unleashed in Vegas. It's going to be kind of, from what I understand, like a year-round
Yep.
Halloween Horror Nights adventure. They have shown us what the concepts and everything are for it, and we have an official opening date, August 14th, 2025. Now, I've seen a lot of people that are like not complaining, worried because apparently from the outside of that building doesn't look like there's anything going on. But that would make
But
sense because exterior stuff is really easy to do very quickly. So I mean,
yeah,
they probably dedicated all of their time and energy into like making sure the inside is like super solid. And then they'll come and they'll put like, I don't know, spiders or something on the outside.
you're
It'll be
in
fine.
Vegas. Like the outside is not going to mean as much as the inside. Like you're in the desert, so it's just like
Mhm.
to worry about the outside look. And plus, you're right. You could literally just put anything up outside.
Yeah.
Like people are still going to go.
You just got to hang the sign above the door, and then whatever you do with the outside of the building is whatever you do with the outside of the
Exactly.
building.
So
But
there's going to be like,
honestly, you don't have to hang the sign outside the door. It's kind of scarier that way, just walking into a warehouse.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would actually be more creepier just walking in. It's like just an unmarked building would be
There's a
terrible.
haunted house in Denver that does that, where it's
Yeah,
unmarked.
Jesus, I
It's
can't.
horrifying. I loved it. Every second of
Yeah,
it, I loved it.
I would never. I can't. Well, I have to. Well, Vegas is kind of fun though. Like that would be good. Like if we get 1,000 followers on TikTok to go live, man. I
We'll
was
go to Vegas.
oh my god, Vegas is great. I'll go to the Wynn Buffet. Have you ever been to Wynn Buffet in Vegas? Have you been to Vegas?
Once, but I was like 12.
Oh, the Wynn has the best buffet I've ever been to in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
when we were, I haven't been there in years, right? And a long, probably more than 10 years. No, before my kids. So like it's probably 15 years ago. And we
Yeah.
went to the Wynn, and we were like just gambling, just slot machines, nothing like crazy. Didn't lose too much. I think we broke even, but we got like free buffet vouchers for just playing, right?
Okay.
For, like an hour. It was this thing back then was like $60. I could only imagine how much it is now. They had like king crab legs, like split down the middle. Like you don't even have to do any work, and you're just eating crab legs. And like there's a whole room of desserts, and they're making fresh crepes. It was amazing. Like I don't know why I'm talking about the Win on the Universal podcast, but it
Sometimes
was.
you have to.
Anytime I think of Vegas, I think of that buffet. It was the best thing ever. Yeah, that Halloween Horror Nights like year round thing. Like, so that's gonna have 4 houses in it. Is that what?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's going to have
four
4 houses. Mm-hmm.
bar in there, right? Some food. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
they didn't really tell us much about the that part of it, but yeah.
Yeah, they did
Do you know?
not give away their theming yet, but I would assume that we'll probably get that in the coming months. I would assume that that's either going to start getting announced probably before the HHN announcement, so probably May.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. HHN is gonna be like right after that, right? Like, what did we
Mm-hmm.
say? It's gonna be end of August, August
Yep,
29th or something like
August
that.
29th. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's gonna be so much hype around that. Like right in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning of August, like it's gonna be fun to watch on social media. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We do actually have ticket pricing also.
Oh, we do. Okay. Well, how
Mhm.
much is it?
So for general admission, which is just like a one-time access, that's your most basic ticket you can get. It's $69,
Oh, okay. That's
starting
not bad.
at 69,
Okay.
which is a little bit cheaper than a normal HHN ticket. HHN normally runs in like the $89 range, and then like goes up from there. But
Mhm.
$69 starting out. There is a Nevada resident ticket, which is $59. So it's $10 off, but that's still pretty decent discount.
Yeah, not bad.
And then there is the unlimited general admission access ticket. So that's going to be for people that are like HHN people. That's going to be like your frequent fear ticket. So like kind of like a season pass.
Okay.
Um, that is starting at $99.
Oh, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Yeah, not
When
bad
you're
at
in
all.
Vegas, it's I always think of it this way. It's like there's tons of different shows that you go see, nice restaurants you can go, or you can gamble, right? So how much you're going to spend at the table, right? If you go gambling in like an hour, you're going to spend over $100 easy.
Yeah.
You're probably so that's how I look at it when I go to Vegas. It's like you might as well spend the money on an experience
Mm-hmm.
rather than go down and like just throw $100 in a slot machine and lose it in 20 minutes.
Right.
If you know what I mean, like, so it's all relative, and honestly, that's not a bad price
Not at
because
all.
two people under $200 is not a bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad deal.
I would assume that like the food and the drinks and stuff are going to be comparable to HHN. So you're looking at like a little bit steeper for the food. Hopefully they have twisted taters in there.
I'm thinking like maybe they should, right? They should have all those things. But I wonder
Yeah.
if they're gonna throw some of the food that we discussed on the last episode, like from Dark Universe, would be kind of cool to see, like the chicken
Maybe.
sandwich that we saw. Like that would be kind of cool, or
Maybe.
even use that as like a test site for Universal over in Orlando in
That's
Dark
actually not a
Universe,
bad idea. Yeah.
right? They can
Or
throw
even
those in
like
there, see what
or even
sells and what.
like tests for like HHN food where it's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, people liked this. All right. All
yeah,
right. We'll bring it to the parks this year."
you could see it working like that. That would be
Yeah.
great. It
Yeah.
would work out so well.
It does look like, just from some of the concept photos, because I'm looking at it as we're talking, but just from some of the concept photos, it does look like, again, for the HHN people, this matters a lot. Jack and Chance are both there, which I kind of assumed was going to happen. Jack and Chance are both icons from Halloween Horror Nights. Jack is like the icon. Like if you see that little
Okay.
clown guy running around in relation to HHN, that's Jack.
Stuff that we're talking here, Jack and Chance.
But it does look like they're running around, and it does look like maybe, and I could see this being the case. Maybe there might be like, here is the haunted house in this corner, but here's this like, here's a bar that's themed to it. Here's a food booth that's themed to it. And they might do something like that, or they might like just like swap out some of the decorations, because it looks like, at least in this picture that I'm looking at right now, it kind of looks like the stuff for that surrounds Jack, because he's a clown and the whole carnival theme and everything, and it's kind of like carnival-ish.
That's horrifying. I should not have looked that.
I don't know why you looked him up. I was explaining.
I know, but I'm just curious, and that's like burned into
Don't
my
do that.
eyes. I'm gonna close my eyes tonight and see him in my sleep.
Think Jack is this guy over here.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, so it does look like that's going to be the case, and then it looks like these houses are going to stay around for like some time. I don't know how frequently they're going to swap them out. They really haven't told us how frequently they're going to swap them out, if they swap them out at all. Because it could function a lot like, Vegas doesn't have it anymore, but Eli Roth used to have a like a haunted house called the Goratorium, which was basically just a year-round haunted house that was really gory, and it was rated R, and it was a whole thing.
And that was
It
in
does,
Vegas?
yeah, and that was in Vegas. It was like right on the Strip. Oh, we actually have the 4 houses that are going to be in it.
All right, let's hear them.
So it's going to be Universal Monsters, which we kind of assumed was going to happen.
Yeah.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, like, I hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm going to just say it right now. I hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm a gore hound too. I love gore. I Saw is one of like my favorite franchises. I'm very big into like the gore side of things. I hate Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that it's so silly. I think it's so silly. I just can't get behind it. I just can't get behind it. Scarecrow the Reaping, super cool. They had a scare zone for it a couple years back at HHN. Amazing. There was a house, I believe on both coasts. Someone can correct me if I'm incorrect there. I believe Scarecrow came to both coasts, or it was just in Hollywood, and then we had the scare zone. But it's super cool. It's exactly as you'd expect it to be. You're walking through a cornfield. There's a ton of scarecrows. They're all trying to kill you.
Awesome.
There's not really much to it, but it's really cool, and I really liked it. And then The Exorcist Believer, which I really hope that they fixed since HHN, because that house had some problems.
Oh, what was wrong? What happened?
Basically, what happened was they did so. HHN doesn't normally do movies the same year that they come out if they come out during the event. For obvious reasons, but one of the bigger reasons is like spoilers, or they just don't have the information that they would need to make a successful house. So that's kind of what happened here, is that they really just didn't have the information that they needed to make a successful house. There is at least one house every year that is like sensory overload the house, where like there are lights flashing, it's really loud, it smells weird in there, the audio mixing is crazy, like it's a lot. And that year for me, that was The Exorcist, and it was like not fun. I was holding Noah's hands and my eyes were closed the whole time because like it, and not even because I was scared. I was just mad. I didn't want to
Oh,
be in the house anymore, and we had waited so long to go in there because I love The Exorcist. We'd waited so long to go in, and it was just not good,
that's
unfortunately. So hopefully now that the movie's been out for a while, they've kind of like fine-tuned it, and I assume they would. The HHN Universal Creative in general is fantastic about things like that. So, but I believe they've only ever done that twice, where they released a house that was like out at the same time the event was happening. And the first time they did it was American Werewolf in London, and that was great. That house was great. But for whatever reason, Exorcist was
uh,
just not it.
well, they must have some confidence, right? If they're putting it in here.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But with titles like that, it does kind of seem like they'll at least swap them out like semi regularly, or if they might not swap out like Universal Monsters and
That's
Scarecrow,
right.
but they might swap out like Texas Chainsaw and The Exorcist. I could see
Yeah,
that
you gotta
being the
think like
case.
Universal Monsters would probably be there like a
Yeah.
staple, and then they could change like the other ones
Hmm.
and rotate them through. Like you said, maybe
Yeah.
even test out some for HHN in Orlando, or
Yeah.
So that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
Um,
and I would really like to see more like original ideas, because right now all I'm looking at is like there's one original house in this four house lineup. Because Scarecrow's the only one that's an original concept.
maybe it's because they know the other three, like it'll engage with the HHN crowd, right?
Yeah,
And like that's who's coming first, right? All you,
of
all you
course.
crazy people that like to get scared. You know, you guys are gonna make the trek out there, and they, you know,
Holly's
and
already trying to figure it out so we can be there for the opening day.
good for you, good for you. Let me know how it goes.
I will. I'll come back and I'll tell you all about it.
Oh my god, I. You know what's funny is one day I'm gonna go to HHN because I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to, and it'll be the funniest thing ever. Not for me, for everyone else around
It'd be
me, it's
so
going to
funny.
be. Ah, I can't. I can't even
I
think
can't
about it.
wait.
No, I can't. I can never So, all right. So we kind of went on a tangent, but that was good. Yeah. Let's take a break now, and then when we get back, we'll talk about the extinct attraction of Back to the Future, one of my favorites growing up. So stay right there, and we'll be right back. The Universally Epic Podcast is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel, a Universal you preferred travel agency. If you're looking to plan your next Universal Orlando vacation, let's do it together. As certified Universal specialists, we can help guide you through the planning process with helpful tips and tricks along the way. The best part, all our travel planning services are free to you.
When you book your Universal Orlando vacation with us, you qualify for an exclusive booking bonus offer from the Magic for Less Travel, a $25 Universal gift card for all vacation packages over $2,500. Ready to start planning? Email the podcast at universallyepicpodcast@gmail.com and start planning your next epic Universal vacation today. All right, and we're back. So I'm taking over because Jim is very tired. He went to Disney. He's very tired, so it's my turn. I hope you guys are ready for this. So, Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. I grew up with the movies. They're amazing. Um, I love Back to the Future. And unfortunately, this is one of those rides I never got to go on.
Oh, that's
So sad. But I do have a fun story that I'll get to later. Um, so the idea behind the ride, just to kind of just immediately jump into it, the idea behind the ride is that you are chasing Biff through time to stop him from changing the future. Um, you go on this like crazy and wacky and wild adventure to try to stop him, for him to just like crash. So basically, due to an error made by Mr. Doc Brown himself, Biff makes his way into the Institute of Future Technology. He does a bunch of things that are insane because he's insane. As he looks for the DeLorean. You, who are like volunteering at the Institute for the day, go through time and space to try to find this man who is in the other DeLorean. He causes a ton more issues before you guys ever even leave, and he locks Doc Brown into his office and then steals the DeLorean. Um, Doc is unable to leave his office, but he's like, hey guys, I know you're volunteering for me. I know that this is not what you signed up for. I get that, but you're gonna do it anyway, right? Because, like, there's a possibility that if this man makes it back to the future, you won't exist, I won't exist, nobody will exist anymore because he's done God knows what in the future. Um, so he asks us to basically take him back to present time. So we go on this wacky and wild adventure that involves going to the dinosaurs,
yep.
seeing an avalanche, and even 2015 Hill Valley. How crazy! You eventually find him, and you bump him right back into the right time, and he crashes. He crashes at the Institute. He is, don't worry, because this is a movie and life is funny. Totally fine. Totally fine. The
Oh
security
yeah.
comes up and he's like, oh no, you caught me. Security is like, mm-mm-mm. So they take him away. Biff thanks them because that is a very scary journey that he just went on. And honestly, I think he didn't know what he was signing up for, but he did. Um, Doc is then like, thank you so much. Our newest invention worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He's
that's
just
the end. there is no more
it's so
elaboration on what
yeah.
the newest invention is.
So their new so suppose like so the new invention was the 8-passenger DeLorean. Like
Mm,
that was the so what you were traveling
okay.
in was the invention. So
Uh,
yeah,
See,
so
I looked everywhere
that's
for
what
it and I couldn't figure out what the answer was.
yeah, so that's what it is. So his new invention
Mhm.
is that 8-passenger DeLorean. And when I tell you, when I was a kid and I would go on Back to the Future over and over again. I loved this ride so much, and it was one of my favorite rides. And the pre-show to this ride is the longest thing you'll ever see in your life. I had to go and I remember it being long, but I went on YouTube and I'm like, oh, I could find it here. It's over 10 minutes long, the pre-show. So part of the pre-show is in so if you go to Simpsons now, you're in that like one room before you go into your
Mhm.
individual rooms. The one bigger room is where like most of the pre-show happens.
Okay.
And that's where like Biff is like in the institute and he's like spray painting the cameras and that, when I was a kid, it's the first time I ever heard the word butthead used. That's so
Oh my
so he
god.
ties up he ties up the security, right?
Hmm.
And
This guy's
and
just a
he writes
menace. I
and
knew
he
he
just
was a menace, but like,
right.
holy.
he writes a sign that says you're a butthead. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, what? He calls, oh, and when the security guards, before he spray paints the cameras, they come up to him and they're like, have you seen somebody? And Biff's behind him, like, shh, don't say anything, And he's like, yeah, because we were looking for this guy. He's a real jerk. And I'm like, oh wow, like look at this is edgy. He spray paints the camera. And there's so many lines in that. And when I was watching the pre-show on YouTube, so many things came back to me, and that I would say over and over again. How annoying! I was the most annoying person in the world. So he, at one point, the security guards are chasing him, and he throws like marbles down the hallway. And of course, it's like the '90s, and they're, oh my god, I'm gonna fall! Like, and they fall into the wall, and they fall over.
Oh
and like,
no!
The funny part is, so Biff then says, he says, have a nice trip. See you next winter, right? And now, so I thought it was the funniest thing ever when I was a kid. So the security guard is then still sliding on the marbles. So I don't know how far this guy was sliding, because I thought he already hit into the wall, but he didn't, I guess. And he's like, it's next fall. It's see you next fall. He's like correcting Biff on his line.
Oh no!
So, and then another line that always got stuck in my head, right? So, Doc Brown gets trapped in his office. That's why Doc Brown's not with you in the DeLorean, right? So he gets trapped in the office, and he's like, "Oh, that's it. We could use my new invention, the 8-passenger DeLorean, right?" And he goes to get out the door, and it's obvious a cage. And he goes, "I'm trapped like a rat in my own office," but he does it with like this head nod move, and for some reason, I thought that was the funniest thing. So I could only imagine what my parents wanted to do to me as I'm saying those lines over and over again after
over
the
and over.
Oh my god, it was like a little mini movie that you're like in. It was so great.
It
Oh,
sounds so cute.
it was great. And you know what? It's funny. Like that ride, I go on over and over again. I went on the Simpsons ride. Man, I felt so woozy afterwards. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I never feel like motion sickness or anything at all. And the Simpsons ride got me, man. I don't know why. I have
I
no
don't know
idea.
either.
Yeah.
So
it's something.
yeah. So we've talked about it.
Fine. Minions Mayhem. I can do
Yeah.
Spider-Man. I can do Transform. Like everything. I do everything.
I wonder if it's just because of like how closed in the DeLorean is, and also like the I guess now the Simpsons ride, because those are just, guess what? Sorry to break the magic a little bit here, guys. Those are repainted DeLoreans.
Yeah, that's all it is.
They are the same car.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the same. But I wonder if it's just because of how closed in those are, especially if you're like on the outsides of the ride car itself. Those walls come in like really close, and so it's like a combination of being like, even if you don't have claustrophobia, it's a combination of like closed in tight spaces, and then like the ride throwing you around, and like you're going everywhere. Also, it could be the animation style of The Simpsons.
Yeah, that might be it. But
yeah,
yeah,
bit rates and whatnot.
I do have one more story to say. So when I was a kid, we're going on Back to the Future, and we walk into the queue, and we're like, "Hey, look, there's a statue of Doc Brown in here." So we're waiting online, and it just kind of goes back and forth, and we're like getting up to him, and I'm like, "Man, this looks so real." He jump scared me. He was like, "Great Scott!" And I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy is a real person." It was the funniest thing ever.
No.
I got so scared. And this is Doc Brown. Could you imagine me at HHN? Like, this is
It's Doc Brown in the daytime, in the Fast and Furious, or oh my god, in the Back to the Future ride. Oh no, I can't wait.
Oh my god. it was so funny, and I remember that to this day because I was like, man, that looks so real, and like
Hmm.
I'm like standing right in front of him, and he just gets a great Scott out there, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I was so
Oh
scared.
no.
It was so funny.
I would have
That
peed
is,
my pants.
I loved it. I loved it so much. It was so
Mm-mm.
good. Um,
All
and
right.
now this I don't really love, you
I don't
know,
like The Simpsons either.
yeah. So, um, yeah,
Okay, so I've got a story.
yeah, go
It's
ahead.
really quick. So, despite me really not liking Simpsons, the first year that Noah and I went together, I was like, we're gonna ride everything together. We're gonna experience everything together. So we went to Simpsons. There was no wait. It was a walk on, and it obviously it had to have been close to lunchtime, or at least close to the end of this guy's shift. So we get to the front. There's like maybe 6 people there. We get to the front. He's like, "Oh, he's like, you guys are coming to ride Back to the Future? I mean Simpsons?" We were like, "Yeah, yeah, we are." He was like, "Oh, okay, great." So he lets us in, and he's like still chatting over the radio now, which like he was like, "This is not my usual station." I don't know if this guy was just looking to like maybe this was his last day. I don't know what he was doing, but he was like, "Oh, I think Noah was wearing his Great Movie Ride shirt too." Um, from Disney. So this guy was like, he was like, it's really sad. I really miss Back to the Future, and this ride is okay, I guess. But like, I kind of missed it. He just like went on this like whole thing about how much he missed Back to the Future. He was like, "Oh, I'll start the ride now." He started the ride, and he was like, "All right, guys, get ready to go Back to the Future," and then the ride started.
That's your first time.
No, and I were like
That's
cry
so funny.
laughing. It was so funny. And we
Oh,
get off the ride, and he was like, "Please don't tell my supervisor I did any of that."
that's so
It's
funny.
like, "We won't."
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
He was
That's
so
so funny.
funny. I gave him a yo fist bump for that on Twitter afterwards. I really like
That's
him.
funny.
He was so funny, and he was like a younger kid. He was probably like early 20s.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Like I would be hard pressed to say that he was my age, and I'm 26.
Gotcha. Yeah,
He was like,
that's
he had to have been like
that's
23,
really weird.
22.
Yeah, that's so weird. That's so weird.
It was so
Um,
funny.
yeah, do we even talk about like is Simpsons? You think Simpsons is going to change eventually? I would imagine, right?
Well, it has to. Their
Right?
Universal's licensing is like done,
Yeah.
and I thought it was supposed to be done last year. Maybe this year. I think that the licensing runs out.
It's weird because I know it's like obviously a Disney property now,
Mhm.
The Simpsons, but like you can't see The Simpsons in a Disney park, right? Like I would
Yeah.
not be able to see that. I don't see that happening, you know. But it's also like Disney just saying, "Hey, this is our stuff. Like you can't, we don't want
Hmm.
to lease it, license it to you anymore." So
Well,
it's
I
gonna be
think it's a similar
weird.
thing to like the way that the Marvel stuff works, where
Mhm.
like Disney has rights to the show, but based on an agreement from forever ago, I believe Universal has rights to like certain parts of the property, which is why they have Krusty Land over there. Because I think they own Krusty Land, but I don't think that they
Oh,
own
okay,
The Simpsons. It's weird. There's
gotcha.
like all kinds of weird licensing things that happened, especially when like Fox in 20th Century um kind of died. So it's just kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
Disney owns half of this and
yeah.
Universal owns the other half.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna happen in the next couple of years. Something new is gonna go in there, I would imagine. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So You want to
But
wrap
I
this
mean,
up?
that's Back to the Future. It was really, really simple of a ride, but everybody loved it, and everybody loved it. And all that happened when Simpsons took over is they just repainted it.
Yeah. Yep. That's all they did. That's
That's
all
it.
they did. And they made you sick.
Yeah, and they somehow managed to make people
I
not
don't,
get sick.
yeah, it's so weird. It's like so. All right, so let's wrap this up. Um, Like, follow, and subscribe to the Universally Epic Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Leave us a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, join the Universally Epic Podcast community group on Facebook. This episode has been brought to you by the Magic Plus Travel. If you have any Universal Orlando trip planning questions or are looking to book your next trip, email us at universallyepicpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, have an epic week, everybody. I'm Jim Klein, along with Taylor Franklin. We are your hosts and travel agents for all things university. Oh, university? What is that?
You were
Oh, this is
so close.
so close. I know. We don't have a ton of listeners, but they know the listeners that we do have. Like, they know we hate Supercharged. Like, you know, Nemo is the worst ride ever.
It's terrible.
So I got on there. I'm screaming. So my biggest pet peeve is half the ride. The beginning half of the ride is just the father yelling Nemo. Right, that's the whole ride. Just, oh, Nemo, Nemo. So I'm in with my daughter in one of the clamshells, right, or whatever it is that we're riding in,
Uh-huh.
and I am yelling Nemo, and she's like, "Dad, stop, Dad, Nemo, Nemo." She's like, "You gotta stop." I'm like, "No, it's so silly. This is the dumbest ride ever." It's so like I like the aquarium afterwards, but like it's just you could just go in the exit and just look at the aquarium.